Hey everyone, we're back. It's episode 8 of Horns Up, your weekly heavy metal conversation. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming here from Brooklyn. With me, as always, from the hole in Phil Labonte's pierced nipple, my good friend Corey Butterworth. Corey, how's it going?
It's going. We've had 8 episodes. What the shit? That's 2 months worth of episodes.
Yes, sir.
At least, because we didn't do...
Well, I was going to say, it's actually our 10th overall episode. It's just our 8th proper episode, but the 2 at MDF, you know.
Maryland Death Fest, exactly. Yeah, I don't know, but, other than that, shit's good. I successfully moved out of, Scott Ian's rainbow-colored beard into, Phil Labonte's nipple hole, and it's just getting a little more accustomed.
How's it going? You get good rent in Phil Labonte's nipple hole?
Actually, it's very spacious. Got a nice backyard. I mean, have you seen his nipple rings? They're pretty big. There's a lot of room in there.
Oh man, and he certainly makes no bones about displaying them proudly. Well, you're just coming back from as we're recording. You're just coming back from a soccer game as well. How'd that go?
Very well. We actually have a good club this year. We won today 6-2.
Nice.
Kind of a little bit of a throttling. We haven't lost yet, 3-0-1, sitting nestled right there in first place with another team of an equal record. But, as the season goes on and the weather gets nicer, we tend to get a little drunker before each game. So we'll see how that plays out for us. It's an interesting strategy, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out.
I think drunk soccer is probably the best kind of soccer, though.
It's the best kind of a lot of things,
Drunk,
my liver not talking. But,
drunk plus anything equals better. Let's just agree on that. I'm actually coming off
No argument.
a fun soccer weekend as well. My Zog Sports team here in Brooklyn had our playoff matches on Sunday. We had 2 games in 3 hours and had only just snuck into the playoffs as the 4 seed. And damn it, we won both games and we are champions of Zog Sports. Shout out to my Brooklyn Ballers for what was is
that your actual team name?
Yeah, I'm not proud of it. I didn't pick it, but when I played indoor, we had a great team name. We were purple, and we went with the royal treatment, like royal purple, and that was kind of neat.
That's actually pretty good. That's pretty good.
Brooklyn Ballers. I don't think anyone on the team is actually a fan of it, so I don't feel too bad about making fun of the name.
Somebody had to come up with it.
It was just a placeholder it was a placeholder that never got replaced. But shout out to.
Let's put a pin in this and address it later.
Yeah, God. Shout out to all my buddies on the team. Though we had a fun year. We had a Yukon run to the championship. Just barely creep in and then just.
I don't like it as much now.
Well, yeah, But
yeah, I hear ya. That's legit though. Our team name happens to be the D-list celebrities.
Okay. So you're talking
which was
inspired by Kathy Griffin and stuff like that.
Sure. I don't know. Why not?
Andy Dick,
which is a change from the last time I played. Andy Dick, obviously Andy Dick, which is a nice change from last year when the team name was Leave My Barcelona, which was fun.
Nice.
Leave My Barcelona.
Boy.
So
that was a lot more appropriate last
thing.
year when Barcelona was leaving no one's Barcelona, but now they're leaving everyone's Barcelona,
including their own.
Anyway, let's move into. We actually have some headlines this week. It's amazing. Let's move into our first segment of the week, catching up on some news from the time since our last recording. First news item: we have news from In Flames around their upcoming album Siren Charms. Full track list was announced. The release date is set for September 9th on their, wait for it, major label Sony/Red. Again, the album is Siren Charms. The lead single is going to be called Rusted Nail, and that's coming out June 13th. But they're actually doing a kind of cool promotional for it where if enough people sign up to follow their Spotify playlist, they'll release it sooner, which I think that's kind of cool, as a way to draw attention to it.
That's very cool. Hey, man, The Dinosaurs of In Flames have been doing this for 20+ years now. They're right in tune with
God, have they really?
modern listening technology. It's
Have
awesome.
they really been doing this for 20 years? Yeah, you're right. Shit, Lunar Strain was like
2014,
Lunar
man.
Strain was like 94.
Woof. Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah. 20 years.
Yeah, we've talked enough about In Flames. I don't know what to expect from this, but we'll give it a listen. I mean, I didn't.
Nope.
I thought there was certainly some enjoyable stuff on Sounds of a Playground Fading, the last album. So
I did as well.
we'll see. I can't say I'm going to be like running to the record shop to pick it up the way I did with Fucked Up, which, spoiler alert, we'll be talking about later. But, In Flames is like a band that just commands my attention at this point, so I will certainly be looking into it.
Here's a... Yep, absolutely. Here's the thing. I will make, now that I'm closer to Bomos, I will still be making my midnight trip down there on Monday, September 8th or whatever it is. I guess technically it'd be midnight of September 9th. Fuck everybody. Here's the thing about In Flames. They wrote some of the best melodic death metal the world has ever seen in the 90s. Period. So I don't really care what you think about them now. I don't care how much you don't like their new style or the direction they've gone in. This band deserves all the credit in the world for breaking the genre as popular as it is today. So yes, I will be buying this CD, like I do every one of their CDs, every single time it comes out. And that's that. Whatever. If I don't like it that much, I don't like it that much. Don't really care. I really don't.
There you go. Will that still hold up if In Flames goes new metal on us?
No.
The ultimate test.
I guess the only thing worse than new metal would be deathcore, or it's right in the same platform.
What if Anders Frieden quit the band and they hired Frankie Palmieri?
I would
just broke you
no
for a
longer
second.
have all the In Flames CDs I have.
Just broke you for a second there. And damn it, there's our Frankie Palmieri reference. There. I think we went all of last episode without mentioning him. I think I'd have to go back and listen to the tape, but I think we did in episode 7.
And you know what's funny is I will go back and listen to the tape to find out for sure.
Yeah.
Follow up later.
At any rate, the album Siren Charms, again, release date September 9th. First single, Rusted Nail, June 13th, or maybe sooner. Definitely something we will be looking into. Next up on the list.
And they have already... Yeah, I was going to say they have already released like a 1-minute sample of Rusted Nail, so feel free to dabble in that, even though it does nothing, but it's out there.
There we go.
It is out there.
Next up on the list, we have news from Iced Earth, who have had to cancel all of their summer festival dates to accommodate guitarist / band leader John Schaefer's neck surgery. This is follow-up to a surgery he had in 2000. He wrote a lengthy note explaining the situation, apologizing to the fans. But yeah, anyone who was looking forward to seeing Iced Earth this summer, gonna be shit out of luck, unfortunately. I obviously hope everything goes okay, but I don't really care because it's Iced Earth.
Yeah, I'm of a similar mindset.
I mean, this is only like
they have their following.
They do, but this is only like for us. I mean, and this came up for both of us. We were making.
Yeah.
Just earlier this week, we were making our subgenre of the week for power metal, and Iced Earth is pretty widely acknowledged as an important power metal band, but we just didn't want to be bothered including them on our list because they're just
going with Stradivarius.
Mediocre. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I mean, they were going to play at Wacken. This is how I found out about it. And I don't think I could exemplify how high I shrugged my shoulders when I found out about that. I was just kind of like, I wasn't going to watch them anyway. I mean, I've seen them live. They're fine. Whatever. Don't really care. Godspeed with your neck injury. I know it happened at a show back in 96 or way back when. He didn't really address it until 2000, so that probably didn't help his cause at all. But as far as the actual band itself goes, no real concern on my behalf about missing them.
Yeah.
Even though I would have been seeing them at one point.
Yeah.
Don't care.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's not a battle of the singers thing, because I didn't really like him all that much when Matt Barlow was in the band. I didn't like him when Tim Ripper Owens from Judas Priest was in the band. I don't really like them now. They've always been kind of meh for me. So, again, obviously
their music, yeah.
I think it's for me. I think it's just like
the same thing as you. We're good.
Well, yeah,
don't care.
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, it's like the music just, like we talked about today, like power metal, there's a certain element of cheese naturally. And I think like Iced Earth tries to like, while they have their cheesy lyrical content, I think musically they try to dodge the cheesy bullet, and it just doesn't quite work for me. Like, cause when I listen to power metal, I want full cheese. So anyway.
You can't go halfway into the cheese. You got to fully commit to the cheese, or
you can't cut it.
Just the way
you can't
it is.
cut it. Iced Earth cuts the cheese. Oh, see what I did there? Yeah, I'll play myself out now.
Yeah.
Obviously, hope everything goes okay for John Schaefer and his surgery, but Iced Earth, meh. Up next on our list, we have news from Gwar, who, as everyone knows by this point, still reeling from the loss of longtime frontman Dave Brockie, a.k.a. Odorous Orungus. The official report came out today from the Virginia State Medical Examiner's Office, and his death has been ruled an accidental heroin overdose, which, God damn it, Like,
this is
you just sort of. It's one of those things. Like, I wished it could have been something more. There, something that was unavoidable. But this is
less controllable.
Right. Yeah. This was completely avoidable.
And the thing is, I think everybody, at least a part of them, knew it was going to be something kind of fucked up like this. Like, there was just a one spot in the back of their brain that was like, I have a feeling there might be something weird going on here. It wasn't just like a natural death and a sleep type of thing.
You have to with musician deaths. I mean, aside from someone like, like Dimebag or whatever, but.
Right.
I think of this. I think of a couple months ago when Philip Seymour Hoffman died of a heroin overdose. There was a comment from Aaron Sorkin who said basically, Phil didn't die from a heroin overdose. Phil died from heroin. And that was the first thing that came to mind when I saw this. It's like, you dabble with this shit and you're playing with fire.
Yeah.
It's a shame. I mean, I won't let this take away from all that Brockie did in Gwar, and from the band's legacy, but it's disappointing when news like this comes out and it's something like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have a ton to say on it. It's just upsetting. Again, like you said, his legacy shouldn't be about maybe his habits outside of, the music world or anything. It should be about what, he did for Gwar and what Gwar did for the music industry as a whole. And that still needs to be in the forefront, but this doesn't, this is obviously going to kind of slow that at least a little bit.
Right.
Sucks.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to our final news item for the week. We have protests being leveled against Metallica for their headlining spot at Glastonbury, which was announced earlier this week. There's a Facebook group that has emerged called just simply Remove Metallica, which has built up something like 8,000 likes in a week. And it's...
Correction. I must interrupt here.
Okay.
It is, as of 5 minutes ago, 12,100.
Wow. Okay, so
it's gained another 4,000 since this afternoon.
Jeez. Okay, that thing's picking up steam. Again, in response to Metallica being named Glastonbury headliners, they are the first ever metal band to headline Glastonbury. And the issue stems from James Hetfield's recent agreement to narrate The Hunt, an upcoming series on the History Channel about bear hunting in Alaska. The group is arguing that Hetfield's self-appointed description as a, quote, keen huntsman are incompatible with the spirit of Glastonbury and bring its good name into disrepute. I want to feel something here, but I don't.
I think it's a rather aggressive statement as far as the Glastonbury goers go. I mean, I will say I don't necessarily approve of, big game hunting, especially bears in Alaska. Not because I'm some huge animal rights activist, but mostly I just like bears. I think they're badass as shit, which is for completely different reasons. But, aside from that, whatever. I guess everybody has their opinion and their stance on things, and that's totally fine. I don't have an issue with the Facebook group. I don't have an issue with any of the protesters. It just is to me, really.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm looking through past Glastonbury headliners now, and it really hasn't been much of anyone that could attract controversy. I mean, it seems this kind of just seems like people are, I don't know. I mean, it's probably the most controversial thing that we've seen among past Glastonbury headliners, but at the same time, it feels kind of like people are grasping at straws a little bit.
Maybe, as I will say from time to time, maybe they're a little too easily butthurt. Maybe just a little bit.
Could be.
A little quick to pull the trigger on and stir up some issues. I don't know. It is what it is.
My favorite will still be Noel Gallagher's protest back in 2008 when Jay-Z was named a headliner of Glastonbury, and Noel Gallagher from Oasis said he basically refused to ever go to Glastonbury again and blah, 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 blah. He wasn't having it. And so, of course, Jay-Z came out, and the first song he did was he grabbed an acoustic guitar and he very poorly but very amusingly played a cover of Wonderwall. That's the closest thing I can think of to a protest that I've ever seen from Glastonbury. But
right. Too much.
That's that. Metallica, maybe attracting some unwanted attention here from the Glastonbury faithful. One thing I found interesting was one of the guys from Mogwai was also protesting Metallica's selection, but he he had some different grounds for his issue with the band being given a headline slot. This guy just said, "Well, Metallica is shit."
I like that argument better.
Just like the number Wang board game.
That's gotta be a Sunday side splitter at some point. Not metal related.
Not metal related, but I think worth including.
Yep. Anyway, yeah, that's hilarious. I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah. So that's that. Metallica headlining Glastonbury, maybe attracting some attention for the wrong reasons. But that'll wrap up our headlines section for this week. Let's move into, we don't have any concerts for the first time in quite a while. So let's move into our new releases for the week. It's a bit of a quiet one. I know there were some interesting new releases out there, but Spotify wasn't exactly Johnny on the spot with getting them all. So we only have 3 for you this week, and let's start off with Fucked Up. New album Glass Boys came out. Corey, did you get a chance to listen to this one?
I did not, actually. I have dabbled in some Fucked Up in the past. They were recently in Boston. I think it was the Tuesday or Wednesday after Maryland Death Fest, and I was really tempted to go because the bits and pieces I have heard from them is really cool. But no, I haven't had a chance to really give this album time yet. So I'm gonna basically make you sell this to me. So what do you got?
And sell it, I will. It's Glass Boys. Again, it's the first album from the Canadian hardcore punks in 3 years, and the follow-up to their landmark 2011 rock opera, David Comes to Life, which was almost universally acclaimed, voted one of the best albums of that year. And this is a simpler, a more straightaway punk record. It's a personal album lyrically, but it's more back to basics. So it's very strong on its bookends. We have songs like Echo Boomer. The title track is the closeout, but also The Great Divide is a great track. Paper the House, which has been out. Paper the House was the lead single that's been out for couple of months now, and I just absolutely love that. Again, very strong on its bookends, merely strong in the middle. I don't think it's as good an album as David Comes to Life, but it was never going to be. I don't think it ever needed to be. It's just a very consistent follow-up, highly listenable. It was made its way into my, I don't know if it's a top 10, but certainly top 15 or 20 for the year so far. Just really, really fun record. I mean, they're coming through here in September. I think they're coming to Irving Plaza, and I will definitely be going to see them to catch some of these tunes live. So
excellent. Isn't that kind of what you want though from an album that, you know, after a little bit of a hiatus were to succeed, something that was considered as great as David Comes to Life was? You don't necessarily expect anything to exceed that level of awesomeness. You just want something that's very, very solid, very, very listenable, because you're afraid of that massive drop off that you see from time to time. So I mean, I think it's almost what you look for in that, at least, you know, as like a starting point.
Yeah, I hate to make a reference to I hate to bring up this band, but if we're talking about punk bands that write rock operas, I have to mention Green Day.
Oh God damn it!
I'll keep it brief.
What about Green Day?
I'll keep it brief. Green Day, who did the rock opera American Idiot, which I actually enjoyed, still do enjoy. I think it's a fun listen. And then, but again, a very grandiose effort from them. And then tried to come back and do another one, 21st Century Breakdown, and just shat the bed completely.
Yeah, you don't do two in a row.
No. You know, Fucked Up, they blew their load on Damien Comes to Life, and it was a very satisfying load blow. And now this is just like the come down cigarette, and it's perfect. It's wonderful. It's not perfect, but you know what I mean. It's the perfect type of follow up, I should say.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, again, the album is Glass Boys, Fucked Up. It is on Matador Records. If you have not listened to these guys before, fucking what are you waiting for? Get on it. Coming up next, we have a new EP from Godflesh, Decline and Fall. It is the first, I think it's the first album of new music from them in something like 12 years. And the first of two releases to be planned for them this year. Coming up later in the year, we will have A World Lit Only by Fire, a full-length record. At any rate, this Decline and Fall, the EP, is out on Justin Broderick's Avalanche record label. What'd you think of this one?
Yeah, I liked it a lot, actually. I know it was only an EP, and but it still really kind of made you want more. You were correct. The previous album that came out was Disillusion back in 2002, so it has been 12 years. Just to kind of follow up on that. It's a great EP. It's a short EP. I mean, it's barely 20 minutes. But Ringer, which was released, I believe it was a few weeks ago as like a single, it's awesome, and it leads perfectly into Dog Bite, which is, under 4 minutes long. I don't know. I'm really excited for the next full length. This was a great EP. 4 songs, 20 minutes, like I said. It's very aggressive and definitely dark for a predominantly industrial metal band. You can definitely get some like Black Sabbath influences in there. And the problem I had with it, the only problem I had was was Decline and Fall. The closing track was 4 minutes and 17 seconds long, but it was my favorite on the EP, mm-hmm. and it just made me want another at least 5 or 6 songs. Yeah. Obviously didn't get them.
All things considered, that's a pretty good problem to have, though.
That's a very good problem to have on an EP. Playing with Fire, it got a little long at points, and it's sections were a little same sounding. 6 minutes 2 seconds isn't aggressively long per se, but it felt a little long at points. But aside from that, yeah, no, good stuff. Good listen. Gets me pretty excited for a full length. Yeah. So, A+ Godflesh. Good to see 12 years didn't do too much harm.
Yeah, I really enjoy it as well. Just to check that, it looks like Decline and Fall is the first of new material since, the last full length was 2001's Hymns, and
Okay,
last any material was the Messiah EP, which I guess got a re-release in 2003. But yeah, at any
Fair
rate,
enough.
it's been a long fucking time, and it's great to hear Justin Broderick doing things again. So
He has an 8-string coming out.
yeah, which
Weird.
naturally I have a reluctance to embrace, but whatever. You know, he makes it sound good. So him and the only
whatever.
two people who have like absurd stringed guitars that I can think of that I enjoy are him and what's his name, Frederick Tordendahl from Meshuggah.
Sure.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
most other bands, I just look at that and I'm like, you're lame.
Doesn't somebody play like a 7-string bass?
Oh yeah, there was, dude. I was on YouTube the other day and I saw a video of a guy playing a
stupid.
12-string bass, and I was just like, "Get
Oh, what the shit?
over yourself, dude. Get over yourself."
Know your role in the band as a bass player.
Yeah,
You don't deserve that many strings.
yeah. Seriously.
Sorry, Pearson.
Anyway, again, Godflesh. The EP is called Decline and Fall. It's on Spotify now. Run, don't walk to check this thing out.
Yep.
Final album of the week. We have a new set from King Buzz Melvin of the Melvins, and the album is called "This Machine Kills Artists." It is his solo debut, and it's an entirely acoustic album. 17 acoustic songs in just under 45 minutes. It was an interesting listen. I can't say it was the most stimulating thing I heard all year, but it was a nice mix of his Melvin style riffage, but played on an acoustic guitar. He he calls it not metal, not folk, but molk.
I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. I love King Buzzo in general.
Yeah. I mean, there are some interesting running through the list here. There are some interesting song titles on the record. It's it's a strange sense of humor. Song titles like "Drunken Baby," "How I Became Offensive."
That's a story I want to
The
hear.
Blithering Idiot, Useless King of the Punks. I mean, I was laughing just looking at some of these song titles. And again, the
sure.
guitar work is interesting. He's got a nice tone throughout. It's very well put together. I think it's an album that would serve better as like something you'd listen to in the background. I don't know that I could actively listen to it. Like sit down and set out time to listen to it. But when I put it on in the background, it was rather enjoyable. So good stuff. Again, the album is This Machine Kills Artist. It's out now on Ipecac Recordings, and it is the acoustic solo debut from King Buzzo of the Melvins. So
Word.
yeah, that'll do it for our new releases. Let's use that to seg into our old releases. Let's go into some retrospectives. Corey, what do you got this week?
I can't believe I haven't really mentioned this band yet, but I went with Catatonia. Now I could have pretty much done a number of albums by them. Discouraged ones going way back in time. I enjoyed their most recent release, which was Dead End Kings. Viva Emptiness is a great album, start to finish. But I went with The Great Cold Distance. This is just the one I've been spinning the most the past couple weeks. For me, it was almost like a forgotten album. It came out it was back in 2007. Just right before Night is a New Day, right after Viva Emptiness. But I think it's a great album. I mean, it's 15 minutes long. It starts feeling a little long as you get towards the final quarter of the track or of the album. But songs like My Twin and July, Consternation, Deliberation, Leaders in the White. It's a great record. It really is. There's just something about Catatonia's sound that I've really embraced over the last 3 or 4 years. Very morose sounding, very very ambient, dark, almost depressing in sound. Not in a way that like Wolves in the Throne Room or Aglock are depressing, but a little different.
Yeah. They're one of those bands that's really navigated that career-long evolution very well.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you look back at an album like Brave Murder Day, I mean, they were straight up death metal. And to look at that and realize that a band that put out not just The Great Cold Distance, but as you mentioned, like Dead End Kings, to think that that's the same band is, I mean, like Anathema is another example. Anathema probably even more of a departure, if we're being honest. But I always love when bands can pull that off.
No, it's great. I mean, the band has gone through a lot of changes, really, especially over the last year. I mean, Jonas is still, doing the vocals, and his voice is crazy good for what their sound is. But they just brought in Bruce Sword on guitars because Frederick, I think it was Frederick Norman, just took off. I can't remember, it was one of them. But they're going through a lot of changes right now, mostly mutual decisions, the sound, just disagreements in sound. But they're carrying on. I saw them last December. They sounded great in Boston. They'll have new stuff out next year, I'm sure. But, yeah, just, I don't know. Great Cold Distance, just a lost album for me that I rediscovered and still really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Good stuff.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to go. Mine was partially inspired by a post I saw on the Tyranny of Tradition, fun satirical metal blog that we read. Which, if you're not familiar with it, it's a whole bunch of fake stories, but incredibly amusing fake stories. But a post that they just put out today called. Yeah, here we go. So the post in question on Tyranny of Tradition is titled "Poll: 67% of Americans believe Judas Priest does not exist."
Jesus.
According to a recent poll conducted by the Gallup organization, 67% of Americans doubt the existence of heavy metal rock and roll band Judas Priest. Another 12% think that the band was once real but were replaced in 1987 by Judas Priest-like robots. Another 37% think that the government created Judas Priest in order to distract Americans from Obamacare. While the number of believers has shrunken dramatically over the past decade, 58% of Americans still believe that Priest is real.
What?
I don't even know. This is the genius of Tyranny of Tradition and its primary blogger, Keith Spillett. So gotta give him a plug here. But looking at this post, I was inspired to revisit a Priest album that I gave quite a few spins to when it first came out as a younger, less keen, or less. I didn't have quite so keen a critical eye. I guess I'll say. I was 15 years old when the first Judas Priest reunion album, Angel of Retribution, came out. And at the time, I really loved it. I was so caught up in the band because this is like me in my peak 80s heavy metal phase. I was getting into Iron Maiden. I was getting into Priest. I was all that stuff. I had my hair long, you name it. And the fact that Rob Halford was back in the band, I was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. Blah, 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 blah. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Eat that shit up. I turned into a turkey. And when Angel of Retribution came out, I mean, I just ate it up. Loved every song on it. I was writing for my high school newspaper and I gave it a 4-star review and blah, 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 blah. And looking back on it, it's really mediocre. It's really, really mediocre.
That's upsetting.
There might be like a song or two on there that I would actively choose to go back and listen to, but for the most part, it's just so bland. It's like they can't decide whether they want to go for a classic Priest sound or a more modern approach. One of the things I liked about their recent single about Redeemer of Souls was the fact that it made no bones about being like a classic Priest kind of sound. And that's why it was so successful, because they're a band that's been around for 40 years and they don't really, it's not like they have much new ground to bridge. I don't think they have any new ground to bridge. They're just like,
probably not.
At this point, you're just going for listenable.
Yeah. Do what's made you successful. It'll still be listenable, I assure you, because that's what made you successful. And let's face it, yeah, like you said, you've been around the block for 40 years. You may as well just do your thing, because that's where that's the best you're gonna be able to pump out.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. And while at the time I thought Angel of Retribution was that kind of album, it most certainly was not. I mean, it closes out with a 13.5-minute epic called Loch Ness, which is about the Loch Ness Monster. Just so we're clear. Why is Judas Priest doing a song like this? More importantly, more to the point, why are they doing a song like this 30 years into their career?
Jesus.
Like, at the time, it was 30 years into
God.
their career. Yeah, just
there are
so many of these songs just blur together. It's bland.
it's just one of those questions that can't be answered. Crop circles, Stonehenge, 13-minute epics by Judas Priest.
Judas Priest. Like, if anyone's gonna do,
we'll never know.
If any 80s metal band is gonna do a song about the Loch Ness Monster, I'm thinking like Maiden, if anyone. Priest was always, almost always more of a poppier band. Like, for them to tread into this subject area, like I just don't get it. And in the style
ridiculous.
in which they tried to pull it off, I don't know. But regardless, despite the love that I had for it way back in 2005, I have no such love for Angel of Retribution now. It was a revisit that I kind of regret, but
hey, we're just here to revisit stuff. We're not here to praise stuff we revisit.
Yeah, hey, we're taking a new approach with this retrospective. I'm not always gonna love everything forever, and this was certainly one of those examples. So again, Judas Priest, Angel of Retribution, that is my retrospective for the week, for better or worse. So let's move into our final segment for the week. Of course, Horns Up, Horns Down, where we talk about things we like and don't like over the past week.
We're going to talk about sports.
Yes, we are. Corey and I, after a rather spirited Facebook debate over the weekend, have inspired...
We were drunk.
Bear in mind, we were drunk, yes. We were inspired to do a sort of collaborative Horns Up. Collaborative in that our picks will be feeding off of each other. Corey,
right?
What are you excited for this week?
I'm excited for hockey. Let me just say one more thing about this. I don't think it's so much of we're going to really debate which is better. I think we can't really do that because as far as I'm aware, I'm going with hockey, which you don't care about at all.
Right.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Could not give less of a shit about hockey.
Right, and I'm going with hockey, and you're going with, I'll spoil a little bit here, but you're going with the other side. I'm going with the
NBA playoffs.
The year, which I don't give a flying fuck about because I'm tired of this, and I'm not going to get into it. That's not why we're here. But it's boring to me. It's boring as shit to me, and it's a slow game.
Okay.
That's all.
So tell me why you're why you're so amped for hockey.
All right, let's first realize that over the last decade, there have been 9 different Stanley Cup winners. The only repeat is Chicago, and there are 2 years in between those, 2010 and 2013.
Okay.
9 out of 10. That's crazy. That is parity. The number 1 seed in the West this year was Colorado Avalanche. They were dead last year. They finished last place in the league. They were an atrocity to the sport. I think as a whole, though, the talent between these teams in the NHL is very, very small when you think from top to bottom. I mean, there are some anomalies, like Chicago is pretty stacked, but as a whole, it's kind of like baseball. And any given night, anybody really can beat anybody if it just goes that way. Plus, when you look at the playoffs right now, let's look at the Stanley Cup Finals, which are about to start. The Kings out of LA, which, by the way, kind of cool that an LA team is in the Stanley Cup Finals. We're talking hockey.
Kind of cool or kind of sacrilegious.
Maybe, but they've sold out every game all year, so you can't really question
I'm
it.
not knocking their fans. I'm just like, you must look at the people in Canada and just be like, what the fuck?
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. But what's cool is they've won 3 Game 7s to get here. Every single one of them on the road. 2 of the 3 they were losing, and they're a 6 seed. The Rangers, I don't know how you feel the Rangers. I personally don't like them, and I'm sure people in New York have a weird... granted, it's better than the Islanders, because why Long Island has a team, again, not sure.
That play in the worst arena possible, which we've already discussed.
God, I know, right? Yeah. That's where that came from. Okay, they were a 5 seed, so we have 2 teams in the Stanley Cup Finals that were not in the top half of their conferences. That's awesome. They played in two 7-game series and 1 6. And the 6-game series was the last series against Montreal, who beat Boston, which is one of the better rivalries in sports. Hockey in general, fast-paced, intense, it's tradition-based, playoff beards, the Stanley Cup, passion, fighting, just everything about it.
Feel it, smell it, hockey!
Hockey! But, it's a Stanley Cup. The thing's a friggin' beast. Does the NBA's trophy actually have a name? This is actually a real question because I'm not sure. Or is it just like the finals trophy?
It does. Exactly.
That'd be stupid.
Exactly what that name is, I have to look up. Hold on.
Exactly.
Who the fuck cares if a trophy has a name?
Tradition, Dan. Tradition. Plus, can you think of a more dramatic situation than a sudden death overtime hockey game? Like, really?
It sure has its appeal, but if you care about hockey, well, I don't. I'm sure WNBA championship Game 7 overtimes are exciting to people who care about the WNBA, assuming such a person
it's still
exists.
Basketball, and it's stupid when 2-point plays happen 100 times in a game, and people still get excited for every single 2-point play. Fuck you. By the way, this comes from the biggest college basketball fan this side of this. I don't care. I like college basketball a lot. The one issue the NHL is having, though, is since ESPN didn't renew their rights, every single, they're with NBC Sports and all that stuff now, which is, fine. They're doing well. Their ratings have been improving each year since, ESPN gave them the boot, which is ironic. But every single game, if you're not at it, it's blacked out locally. So the accessibility to watch these games is pretty much nil, unless you have, alternative and want to spend a lot of money, basically, to watch these games. Which is kind of shitty, because these games are really intense. But I don't know, just from the parity, just from how these teams are playing, just from the intensity levels every year in the playoffs, the NHL playoffs are just nothing like them. There really isn't. I
will say, when I was into hockey, I tended to,
except for Sidney Crosby. Fuck him. Fuck Sidney Crosby.
I'm not even a hockey fan, and I know that. When I was into hockey, I did really see, why everyone loves playoff hockey. And I still can understand it, but I just don't care about it.
Maybe we can blame ESPN for that, or blacked out markets. Maybe.
Even if ESPN gave him a contract, to me, hockey's a sport that you gotta go see it live.
Oh, no, that's absolutely true. And I think that's how it starts, though, because I didn't really start getting to hockey myself until I went to, my first game. It ended up being a college game, but, what difference does it make? Because live, it's another beast altogether. Yeah. I don't know, and the thing is, too, and the fact is, where am I from? New Hampshire. Hockey is pretty much a religion, pretty much here north through Canada. Yeah. High school, college, even, middle school, it's massive. It's the culture of the area. So it's just... Again, kind of like soccer, some areas just don't necessarily get it, and they probably never will. Hockey kind of falls in that same category.
Yeah.
It's been a part of my life since I was a kid, and it's just the way it is. But
fair enough. Well, I went with, as Corey alluded earlier, the NBA playoffs. Finals have started. We have the San Antonio Spurs and the Miami Heat, a rematch of last year's amazing championship series, much to Corey's dismay.
It was okay.
Because God forbid we don't have 9 different champions in 10 years.
Hey, man, that makes it more exciting.
See, I would, I don't know. I would beg to.
Do you want to see the Heat go every year for the next decade?
No,
Nobody
but I
does.
wouldn't mind seeing. I won't pretend I minded when the Spurs won 4 championships in 8 years, because certain teams are just fun to watch, and even the ones that you love to hate, like the Heat, like the Lakers, like the like the Celtics back in the 80s. I don't know. I find I get as much enjoyment rooting for the other teams, rooting against them. Because eventually,
that's fair, actually.
every team is going to fade. Whether it's the Lakers, who they're down in the lottery now.
That's awesome.
The Bulls after Jordan. Like the Heat. Dwayne Wade's getting older. LeBron won't be there forever. Like they're gonna fade. Eventually.
Ray Allen. I mean, Christ, the sharpshooter.
Jesus Shuttlesworth.
Jesus. He oldest time. No, I will actually agree with that, because I remember the first year the Heat made the finals when they played the Mavs. I was all about the big goofy German Dirk Nowitzki.
Right. And the night the Mavs beat them was my single favorite night on Twitter in history. It was a wonderful night to be on Twitter.
I saw one tweet that got me really offended as a beer lover, because somebody said Dirk's going to go home, listen to David Hasselhoff, and drink a Heineken. And I was like, Heineken's not German, you son of a bitch. I got really, really mad.
My favorite, there was one that it superimposed. It was an image titled "The Loss of the Ring," and it superimposed LeBron's head onto Gollum and Dirk's head onto Frodo.
Didn't LeBron have like that weird, like sad LeBron face we all know?
Yep. So I don't know. I mean, in much the same way that you said you grew up around hockey, being from New Hampshire. I mean, my first formative sports experience was moving to Chicago and rooting for the Bulls during their record-breaking 72-win season. Michael Jordan's first full year back on the team. Like, you had no choice but to get behind this team if you lived out in Chicago.
Dude, anywhere. Are you kidding me? Anywhere.
Yeah. And I've never turned my back on them. And, obviously, like, they've had a couple years of missed opportunities due to, just circumstances that came up. But
ACLs.
Yeah. R.I.P. Derrick Rose. But I don't know. I love this sport. And there was a period for a while where I could not stand it. It was, I'm thinking right around the Malice at the Palace, as they call it, back in 04, 05,
Jesus.
was my bottoming out. But I've really gotten back into it in the last few years. I love it. I mean, I don't think it's a perfect league by any stretch, but I could not be more excited, especially given that we're getting a rematch of the 2013 finals, which was, and I pointed out that I'm a Bulls fan, and I saw, 3 final series and they won 3 more before I became a fan. Taking all that into consideration, last year's final series between the Heat and the Spurs was still the best one I've ever watched. Absolutely incredible. 2 teams that just had the utmost respect for each other and gutted it out over 7 games. I mean, it was just unreal.
Well, I got to say this. I think the hardest test the Bulls ever took back in that day, because that's when I was into basketball myself, was usually in the Eastern Conference Finals against Reggie Miller and the Pacers.
Yeah.
I remember them being like the thorn in the side. I remember Reggie Miller hitting that big 3 to win that one game, and I was like, I hate him. I hate him a lot, actually.
Reggie Miller, it's so funny. If you look at him, he's doing, I guess, like color commentary for some of these broadcasts. Correct. He has not aged at all.
No,
he doesn't age. He looks exactly the same.
It's so weird. It's so weird. I don't know. I mean, because I can relate to a lot of that, especially with the Bulls type of thing. And I think a part of it is I'm really frustrated at the media outlets. Let's face it, it's ESPN. It's the only real one that's really pushing this, I guess. But there's always got to be the next something. There's got to be the next something. Oh, they have to eclipse the Bulls. They have to eclipse Jordan. It's like, how about you just accept their greatness, move on to the next great thing, and talk about it in its own entity. Stop comparing shit to a different time and place, because nobody, as far as I'm concerned, will ever be Michael Jordan. I don't want to hear about all these guys that may be better than him. Maybe they are. Who knows? Maybe LeBron wins 50 titles. Who gives a shit? Just stop it. It's so frustrating to hear about. It really, really is to me.
I'm with you, but I won't pretend that doesn't happen in every other sport, though.
It does. But I just feel like the LeBron Jordan thing just comes up daily on SportsCenter.
Yeah.
In some capacity, and that's a little aggressive.
Well, I mean, and I don't know that there's, it's very clearly, I mean, I know Durant was the MVP this year, and Durant had an incredible year, but taking that aside, I don't know that any other sport has as clear-cut a best player as the NBA does with LeBron. I mean,
no, there isn't.
Like soccer, you could make the case for Messi or Ronaldo. Football, you could make the case for Adrian Peterson.
Name 5 quarterbacks. Yeah. Name 5 quarterbacks or 3 running backs.
Yeah. LeBron is so clearly the best player of this era in the same way that Jordan was so clearly the best player of his. So, I mean, I think that's where that comparison comes from. But, I mean, I'm with you. It does get annoying after a while. I'm just trying to rationalize it, but...
And I do also want to hear about, other teams and shit. It's like baseball. Let's talk about the Yankees, and then here's 30 seconds for the other 29 teams.
Yeah.
Obviously not now because the Yankees are mediocre at best, but whatever. I don't know. I mean, I think the NBA is lucky because each year now it has a, a good guy, bad guy matchup.
Yeah.
For everybody outside of Miami, which is actually fairly, in the same way I said in the NFL this year, the happiest guy in the world, was anybody that worked for the NFL because they had the biggest West rivalry in San Francisco and Seattle and the biggest, or I should say NFC, and the biggest AFC rivalry in Denver, New England.
Yeah.
That worked out quite nicely.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the same effect.
Yeah. And I think even though we are going back to Spurs Heat again, and the Heat are the center of attention, there were a lot of good stories in the NBA this year. You had Phoenix, who pretty much openly acknowledged that they were trying to tank, just barely missing out on a playoff spot this year. You had the Wizards, who had the 3rd overall pick in the draft and wasted it on Otto fucking Porter.
Whoops.
Who made the playoffs and beat the Bulls in the first round. I mean, there were.
Hey, guess what? It's 11:37.
And Georgetown still sucks.
Yeah, Otto Porter reference had to do it.
Had to get that in there. I've covered it. I've covered it enough. I still love the NBA playoffs, and I could not be more excited for the rest of this finals series. So
can't hate Timmy either.
Oh God,
what
no.
it's worth.
That whole team. That the Spurs are the best example of a team that I've seen since the '90s Bulls.
Yeah, and I mean, who made the '90s Bulls? Michael made Luke Longley a good center.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have just spent about 20 minutes talking about sports on a metal podcast.
Yeah.
So,
well, we gotta show our listeners that we're well-rounded individuals. /
Absolutely.
maybe attract some new listeners who might be more on the sports side, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Horns down. What do you got this week? What are you hating on?
I'll say it's a love-hate relationship, but in recent events, it is more of a hate relationship or a frustrated relationship. So yesterday, obviously, I kind of finally got myself really established in my new house and stuff, and the internet wasn't working for a while, and I couldn't do jack shit. All of a sudden, I went from super productive, doing everything, to I am now a completely unproductive human being. I can sit here and stare at my screen that does not go to where I need it to, and yell at it, and that's pretty much the extent of my existence right now. I couldn't get the quickies up. I couldn't talk to you about tonight's episode type of thing. I couldn't do anything, and I was so bullshit. And then I was like, pondering, without internet, most of us kind of are fucking screwed.
Yep.
The weird thing is, though, and it kind of just goes in with the way the world works. New technologies come in, we become used to the technologies, and once we don't have the benefits of those technologies, we kind of forgot how we did things before. And we can't do things as they were before because that's not how the world works anymore. It was just a prime example of that. And it was both frustrating but also kind of awesome, I guess, because it also brought into light the fact that I can literally talk to you, same time, on cue when you're in Brooklyn and I'm in Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just infinite connections to everything.
It makes everything so convenient, but then when we lose
once
that
convenience is gone, we're fucked.
Yeah,
we're all fucked. And it was just like I was so mad, dude. I was so mad.
It makes me think of that. It makes me think of that Louis C.K. routine where he talks about how people are bitching about their cell phones, like, oh,
it's going to space.
I hate Verizon.
That's exactly what it's like, and it's like because that's what he did. Like with his phone, he's like, it won't load. And Lou's just like, will you give it a minute? It's going to fucking space and back. Give it a second. It'll get there. It is a miracle in your hand. Wait.
Oh, man.
But no, just, it's weird because it was very frustrating, and it definitely is a love-hate relationship because I guess what the horns down is how frustratingly unproductive we can become once we don't have something as simple as the internet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that pretty much sums up my horns down.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while I was dealing with this situation, which I thought was the end of the world, on Dan's end, a little different, a little more aggressive here.
I wouldn't wish my horns down on anyone. Actually, maybe I would, so that I don't have to be the only one I know dealing with it.
Frankie Palmieri?
Yes, him. True. Over the past couple of weeks, we have been dealing with the aftermath of a little bit of a bed bug incident in my apartment. Thankfully, I'm safe, but one of my roommates' rooms has been not overrun. I mean, I think we more or less have them under control now, but, we have all of our stuff in plastic bags, and we had to get a exterminator to come in twice, and we have to spray this white powder all over everything to kill them, and it's just like one fucking thing after the next, and it's such a process. Like bed bugs, like they don't poison you, they don't transmit disease, like they are just such a nuisance.
They're a big pain in the ass.
And fucking parasites.
Really?
What is the point? Like, I understand, like mosquitoes are there to nourish birds and stuff like that. And most other insects that we can find annoying at times do serve their purpose. What the fuck is the point of a creature that does nothing but crawl out, feed on your blood, and then go back and hide in your nooks and crannies of your wood in your apartment and in your mattress and in your fabrics for 12 hours a day? What purpose does that serve? Whoever, whatever created the universe, you done fucked up when you created bed bugs. You asshole. So that's what I'm dealing with right now. Again, I think we're pretty much in the clear at this point. Fingers crossed, but those fucking things.
Well, I mean,
thank God. My room is like the sanctuary at this point. It's like I see all these bags and I see all this powder all over the apartment, and I come into my room and I'm like, oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, seriously, that's rather fortunate they didn't get across the hall. I just know
apparently they don't do much traveling, so my roommate and I, our rooms are pretty far apart. We have 3 whole rooms in the apartment separating us, so more or less in the clear. But
it's a hell of a journey. It's a hell of a journey for a bed bug.
Yeah. So that's that. That's my horns down. That will also wrap us up. That's also that for for the podcast this week.
So many that's.
Yeah, again, a bit of a shorter one this week, but shit, I say that and we're at an hour and 2 minutes.
It's the sports, man. The sports got us.
Damn sports. Damn shooty hoops. But yeah, so we're coming back with what is going to be a very big week next week as far as new releases go. Off the top of my head, we've got Arch Enemy, we've got Equilibrium, we've got
Anathema.
Mayhem, Anathema. It's going to be Atlas Moth as well. It's going to be a heck of a new release week. So keep an eye out for that when the time comes. In the meantime, we will have tomorrow we will have the dump, which is, as you know, all of our extra content from this post that we couldn't share because radio.
Because sound only.
Yeah. We also will have our Sunday side splitter coming up after that, and all of the other content on our blog, hornsupmetalshow.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/hornsuppodcast, and like us on Twitter, or follow us on Twitter at Horns Up Podcast. Corey, any final thoughts before we call it a night?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm good.
Yeah. Well, then we shall call it a night. For Corey Butterworth, I am your host, Dan Kaplan. Thank you for stopping by as always. And remember, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.